Hey YouTube. Everything looks okay. Testing. Somebody give me a sound check. I've pretty much wrapped up my So You Bought a Fish Tank series because I wanted to spend some time helping new hobbyists. Hey Justin Shepard, welcome to the stream, man. Is the audio okay? Thanks. Hey Daryl Dimer, welcome to the stream. What's up with you guys today? I'm trying to fix my fix my okay. Maybe I'm not close enough or enunciating clearly enough to the mic. I was bending down and trying to work on something. Anyway, I've pretty much wrapped up my So You Bought a Fish Tank series for new aquarists, and I'm not going to run the Bob stream anymore because I feel like I've been doing this long enough now where it's my stream. It's not replacing Bob's. So I think for now I'm just going to leave it as a question and answer live stream, and we'll see how that goes. And if nobody's interested in that, then I'll go back to trying some kind of format. There are a lot of things that I still think are important to talk about. One of the things that I'm thinking about doing is a stream on medications. And I think that could be handy for a lot of people. So I may try to do things like that in the future. You know, pick a topic and try to give my take on it. Um, I seem to be slowly losing viewers in the sense that even my live streams are getting smaller and smaller. And I understand that. Part of it is the time of year. Part of it is the fact that I've not had a whole lot of content out lately. And, that's life. And I've been battling my own infirmities. Hey, Nisi, welcome to the stream. Hey, Lumpy Dog, welcome. Um, Audio is great here, tested with and without headphones. I, I, I'm doggedly continuing to do my live streams. It's a blessing and a curse, but I feel like it's important that I do that. That I keep forging ahead. I've tried to put out some content in the last couple of days, and I'm having a great deal of trouble getting accustomed to using DaVinci Resolve. It's a great program. It has a massive amount of power, and it's yet again another learning curve that I'm going through, trying to pick up how to do things, how to improve the quality of my lives, of my content that I'm putting out. So I keep saying this, but look forward to me actually putting out regular content again at some point. Um, for now, I'd just like to go ahead and get you guys to either ask questions or talk about what's going on in your fish keeping. Um, I'm kind of trying to get back up to speed again with doing a question and answer live stream as opposed to having a topic to talk about, you know, in the sense of fish tanks for new people. And if you guys can help me out by throwing topics at me or asking questions, that'll probably help me out for a little while until I get a topic to go with. In my own personal fish keeping, it's been a rough winter. We've had a lot of issues this winter with different things, and I've lost a lot of fish. We've lost a lot of fish, partly through my own. You know, fish keeping is a struggle. It's a great joy, but it's also a struggle. You have to keep doing the things, the basic things that are required. Lumpy Dog wants to know if I've had any happy accidents in my fish keeping lately. Hey Pam, I hope you're doing better. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're beginning to feel like you're starting to recover. Happy accidents. Not really, Lumpy Dog. The one thing that I've been working on content for is my Peru Tetra tank. I really am still unsure as to what exactly I've got in that tank. After all this time, I still... Hey BB23, welcome to the stream. I still am unsure what the identity of some of those fish are. So, Nisi says it's warming up in Alaska and we're getting closer to moving the tanks to the garage to fix up the house. Need to figure out flooring still. Hardwood is a no-go. Too much moisture in the climate for that. Yeah, that's kind of a tough thing. Trying to figure out what kind of flooring to go with is a big start. First, you got to worry about your foundation, then you got to worry about your flooring. You got to get those two things right. VB23 says, guess what? I finally got white cloud minnows. I just realized how beautiful and underrated they are. Yes, that fish has been in the hobby forever, and it is a remarkable little fish, and they are so beautiful. VV23 says, traded all my guppies for 14 white clouds. Totally worth it. Yeah, congratulations. They really are a remarkable little fish. So to get back to Lumpy Dog's question, I really don't feel like I've had any happy accidents lately, as in sudden breeding or anything like that. But I'm just trying to burrow down and figure out what I've got, and that in itself is one of the things that's remarkable about this hobby, is that it is possible to get fish that no one knows exactly what they are. And I've got 3 plecos in that tank that I don't really exactly know what they are, and I can't tell yet whether they're all the same species or whether they are 3 different species or 1 or 2 different species. It's you know, it's as much as we know about this hobby, there are still times when you are at a loss to describe exactly what's going on, or at least that's my personal experience of it, is that I still am unsure. Even the cichlids that I got, I'm unsure exactly what they are either, even after all this time. Now, I do feel like I've narrowed it down somewhat, but I'm still not sure. Nisi says aquarium co-op small fish and fry food is my favorite go-to white cloud food. They are at their best when they eat that dried food. Yeah, that really is a perfectly sized and nicely portioned food that Corey put together. When I'm feeding stuff like that, I like to feed things like bug bites, those kind of very small community kind of foods are good, and they will eat Daphnia, Daphnia with relish. So you can either feed those live or get frozen. They like them. They like them a lot. And white clouds are a very rewarding fish to keep. I'm sure you're in for a great deal of enjoyment keeping those fish. So I was starting to talk about the fact that fish keeping is a joy a great deal of the time, and it is also it's a yoke around your neck sometimes too, and going through a rough patch with your fish keeping, having problems and issues arise. Um, it can get to be a grind at times. Hand water changing, trying to keep up with losses, trying to deal with I had a colony collapse on my shrimp tank. There are a lot of things that go on in the fish keeping hobby that are rough. They're just not easy. And it's not a hobby for the faint of heart, because you can have um, failures in your equipment. Heaters can go bad. The winter time's especially rough for a heater breaking, or a heater shorting out, or a heater locking in and staying on and cooking your fish. All of these things require you to be on your toes as far as trying to get through it. It can be stressful. It can be um, unhappy, but in the long run, if you just keep working at it, if you just resign yourself to the fact that you need to do water changes on a regular basis, that when you start trying to skip water changes, when you start half-assing it's going to come back and bite you. It's going to show you that you have not been doing your proper care for your fish, because they will suffer. There's just no two ways around it. Nisi says rotation is a must for all pets. In my humble opinion, I'm setting up a 1.7 gallon for scuds or Daphnia. Depends on what I get my hands on first. Um, Lucas has scuds. I know you can get scuds from him. Daphnia is one of those things that they can be easy to keep, or they can be hard to keep. Sometimes you can't keep them out of a tank. They'll overtake tanks at times. where they start out, they're like seed shrimp in a shrimp tank. They start out competing your shrimp. It's live food is always going to be the very best thing that you can feed to your fish if you can keep Lumpy Dog says I always end up full circle keeping easy fish and plants that like my water parameters. Doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the hobby. I just don't impress anybody. Well, Lumpy Dog, the only person that it is important to impress is yourself. So you can't really worry about what other people are thinking or doing. There's only one person in this world that you can control, and that's yourself. So the faster we all get about controlling ourselves, the better off everything's going to be. And that means not to worry about what other people think so much. It's a pointless rabbit hole to go down and never come out of. BB23 says, I have scuds in my 20 long with the white clouds. I just let them coexist. The white clouds eat the scuds, but the scuds should still be able to survive and reproduce. Yeah, you're probably never going to have enough fish to keep the population of scuds from continuing to go on. But it's a great live food for them. They'll be really happy because they will be getting food whenever they want it. It won't be them having to wait on you to feed them. You can supplement their scud diet by adding foods. And when it gets to be breeding time, having live foods or even just frozen live foods can really supplement the fish's health, and their health and well-being is really important as to how the breeding goes. The happier and healthier your fish are, the more likely they are to breed. I mean, there's a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of questions lately about breeding, and I think that as fish keepers, we end up becoming to realize that breeding is really all about a waiting game after we have given the fish the proper water parameters that they need, given them clean water. Even if the water parameters aren't perfect, as long as the water is being changed regularly so that they are in fresh water and they're not dealing with high nitrates and nitrates. If we have set all the parameters properly, and then we have made their diet very healthy, if you fatten up fish before breeding season, you're much more likely to get a good outcome. That's how things work in nature. The it's nature's way to have a long dry period where the water levels drop and the water quality drops, and then suddenly a rainy season comes and there are there's a ton of more water suddenly in the areas where these fish were living before. And with that will probably also come a heavy insect population that starts dropping insects into the water with them, or some breeding of things like scuds or something else. Suddenly there is a glut of food and there is improved water parameters and increased water. Like in the Amazon, the rivers and lakes will flood and extend far into the jungle, and those fish suddenly have a whole new area to find new foods. There's plants in the water. Hey, Laura, welcome to the stream. And so if we can replicate that in some way in our tanks, where suddenly they're getting a really good diet with extra protein and extra whatever in it, much better than just normal flake food, although normal flake food is good too. But if we can supplement their diet with extra stuff, then that will give them the sense that it's time to breed. You know, if you catch a rain front coming through your area and the barometric pressure changes drastically, and then you do a heavy water change, maybe slightly colder than what your normal water temperature in your tank is, you have given them the sense that it is time to breed. And Laura, I've basically finished with my series on new fish keepers, and we're back to just question and answer stream. And I don't really have a topic today, so we're basically going off what you guys are talking about and whatever falderall I can add. Lumpy Dog said, you have to be honest with yourself in this hobby. What are you willing and able to do after the newness and excitement wears off? I know I can commit to weekly water changes and minor tank maintenance. I don't keep things that take more effort than that because I know me. It isn't going to happen. And that's an excellent point. Because it's, I mean, this is a hobby. This is a pastime. This is something that we do for the pleasure of watching our fish thrive. And so you will come to a point where you recognize what it is that you're able to do and what it is that you aren't able to do. You know, the difference between changing water by hand on 300 gallons of water is one thing, and then if you suddenly jump it up to 600 gallons of water that you're having to change by hand, then you may begin to discover that that is more of a load than you are capable of dealing with. I mean, think of someone like Lucas, who has hundreds of tanks. You know, he finally had to go to automatic water changing. And that's something we should all think about if we have the wherewithal and the centralized location of our fish so that it's potentially possible to do automatic water changes. That will take a great deal of the stress off. But if you talk to a lot of fish keepers, they will tell you, a lot of them will, that they want to do the water changes by hand. They want to hand vacuum their tanks because that gives them time watching, looking, observing at their fish, observing the ecosystem that is their fish tank. It forces you to immerse yourself. I mean, you can't be on your cell phone while you're siphon vacuuming the gravel in your tank because you're going to catch one of your fish in there, or you're going to do damage, or you're going to do something wrong. You're going to knock over a pile of rocks or something like that. Laura says tinkering with aquariums is all part of the fun. And yes, it can be a chore if you've given yourself too much to do, if you're fighting it, if you're, tangled up in water parameters or something like that. Yes, Laura's right. You could drop your phone in the. Well, I'm just trying to say that it's really hard to not pay attention to what you're doing when you're hand siphoning a tank. You can't do it. You have to pay attention to what you're doing, and because of that, you're paying attention to what's going on in your tank. If you're observant, if you're a good fish keeper and someone that knows what they're looking at and knows what they're seeing, or sees something that they don't recognize or that they don't understand, if you're not paying attention and you've had an unexpected breeding process happen in your tank, you could be sucking up baby fry and sending them out to the garden to dump in the ground. You need to invest a certain amount of time watching your tank while you're cleaning your tank. 8 down the wormhole, welcome to the stream. We're pretty much just shooting the whatever this stream. I'm just back to question and answers and talking with you guys and getting topics to talk about out of what you guys ask or talk about. I've had a lot of issues this winter with my tanks. I had a heater failure and lost all of our RU2s, which was debilitating to say the least. I had a colony collapse on my main shrimp tank, lost a bunch of shrimp. I've lost one of my L260s. I lost several tetras, lemon tetras. I think I've still got all 6 of my reed tetras. Down the wormhole says, I am sure I've sucked up a few fry in my time. Me too. But if you're paying attention when you're cleaning that tank, you're more likely to recognize that cloud as not detritus, but actual fry. And usually your fish will tell you. If you try to suck up a cloud of Jack Dempsey or Menaguensis fry with a siphon, those fish will attack that siphon. They'll knock it out of your hand if you're not careful. So, yeah, if you're paying attention to what you're doing with a siphon, you're more than likely to recognize that suddenly you're in a new world in that tank. Anyway, I'm just trying to say that fish keeping has its ups and downs, that it's got remarkably wonderful, great things about it, that we force our minds to be elastic and learn new things. And believe me, as someone in my 60s, I recognize how valuable it is to continually be open to learning. My memory's going on me, and I have a hard time remembering things. What I've said and what I've done. Sometimes I can't even remember that, and I've forgotten a ton of knowledge. But eventually, it will come to me again, or I will see it again, and I learn it again, or learn that I have forgotten it. But keeping your mind active, continually pumping new information into your brain is one way to avoid having a lot of the fossilization issues that come with old age. And it's extremely valuable as a young person, too. Nisi's had the experience of sucking up white cloud babies and then trying to get them safely back into the tank. Yeah, if you're really paying attention, you can. I mean, that's just a habit of mine. when I get done siphoning into a bucket, I always look into the bucket. If the water was particularly dirty, or if the gravel was particularly dirty and the water's dark, I'll even shine a flashlight into that bucket just to see if I can catch up the sign of a little tetra or whatever kind of fish swimming around in the bottom of that bucket. And if you do those kinds of things long enough, they become second nature to you. You start to think about things like that. You start to recognize, man, I better check. You know, it's probably not happened, but I better check anyway just to make sure. And having fry, having new little fish is one of the remarkable things about this hobby. There are fish that do amazing parental behavior with their fry. You know, a lot of our fish are just egg scatterers, and they just scatter the eggs, fertilize and scatter the eggs, and that's all. They're done then. The little fish are on their own as far as surviving goes. But there are a lot of fish, a lot of the larger cichlids and even some of the smaller cichlids that have amazing antics as parents. And that's one of the joys of this hobby, is to get to watch that play out in your tank. And, you know, those are the kinds of things that keep us as fish keepers going. Hey, Haley, how's the SEC conference going? Are you guys done? If you're still there, say hi to Michael and Lucas for me. I've been watching you guys stream from there. Haley, get back to work. Haley, take it easy. Tell Lucas that you're invoking the law of total slack. Oh, NEC, I'm sorry. Northeast. Yeah, okay. I enjoyed watching you put that red lotus in your ropefish pond. I thought that was a great stream. Pam's worried you're mad at her because you're using her full name. Yes, but I lost Lucas. There are talks and fish, and he's distracted. And so you're stuck at the booth. Now, you'll probably meet more interesting people at the booth than Lucas is going to meet at the talks. So look at it that way. Look at it as a positive. For any of us that have never had the experience, fish keeping conventions or large club auctions or meetings, Nisi, you said just had an aftershock. Are you talking about you guys had an earthquake up there and I don't know about it? I haven't been paying attention to the news this morning, so if you guys have had an earthquake up there, probably ought to tell me so I'm not worrying about you more than I should. Aftershocks are as dangerous as the earthquake. Haley says she's hanging out with Michael and he's having a hoagie, which I should have gotten because I'm starting to get hungry. Give him those eyes, Haley. Give him those I'm really hungry and I didn't buy anything, Michael eyes. And tell Michael that I have been following him. I haven't been commenting as much here lately on stuff. A 7.0 in November. Oh. Well, that's quite the aftershock. Regina Spotty is my new favorite human being on the planet, and Eric is super awesome. I would have to wholeheartedly agree with the statement that Eric is super awesome. Now, I've not had the chance to meet Regina other than through I haven't had a chance to meet Regina other than through other people's live streams, but she seems like a wonderful person. And Erica's a lucky man to have her watching over his fish as well. Oh gosh, Nisi, I didn't realize that your 180 was broken down and a bunch of sheetrock and floor damage to your house. I guess I've not been following closely enough. Haley, I think Regina has 2 whole fish rooms to herself. She probably doesn't have time to take care of you. She doesn't have a tank large enough to keep you in. So you'll have to ask Regina if she has a tank large enough to keep you in. But please tell Michael that I'm thinking about him because I feel like I've short shrifted him here lately. There's only so much time to go around on YouTube. If you don't spend 24/7 on YouTube, you get behind, and I've gotten behind here lately. Part of it is it's basketball season, and now it's the playoffs. Haley says she's a small dragon and can fit in a 55. No. Nope. It's gonna take more than a 55 to hold you, Haley. It's gonna take a 150 at least. Pam says they have made me want wood cats really bad. I went through a whole about 6 years where I kept woodcat after woodcat after woodcat. They are such a remarkable little fish, but you can barely ever see them. They're just like lure cards. You're lucky if you see a tail hanging out somewhere. You almost have to watch them in the dark to catch them out and swimming. But they are remarkable little fish. Those ninja cats are so beautiful and so fun to watch, but you just don't get much chance at them. Lumpy Dog's asking me to revive my vinyl LP YouTube reviews. I can do that, Lumpy Dog, but I had kind of a falling out with the vinyl community. Um, Richie, Richie and I went at loggerheads about payment for the football, fantasy football league I was in, and it kind of just turned me off of the whole thing. And I wasn't getting very much attention paid to that. YouTube is really strange about how it treats you. You get a niche audience with what you're normally doing, and if you vary from that niche, you lose them. Haley, you guys have a lot of fun. Don't even worry about anything else other than having fun. I mean, I know you got to watch the booth, but yeah, like Pam says, get something to eat. As far as me being awesome, Haley, what you see is what you get. um, yeah, that's what those conventions are about, is having fun. So spend time talking to Regina and Eric and Michael and whoever you can find, and the people that come to your booth to buy things, you never know what kind of gem in the rough you're looking at. So watch your customers closely and see if you can recognize remarkable things in them. Nisi says, does anyone have suggestions for an air pump that'll power 420 longs? I currently have a Whisper something or other and an Eheim something or other, and I want to switch to one to put in the crawl space. 420 longs. Um, Whisper is the name that I trust the most. I've had tons. Um, I've had tons of other kinds, and they almost invariably end up breaking down. Um, so Whisper is mostly what I would tell you. Um, Lumpy Dog says 20 longs don't take much air or pressure to run. A 2-out Whisper should be fine. And I'd agree with that. And the beauty of the Whisper things is that you can repair them yourself. When you go and buy a new one, look around and see if they have the replacement um, diaphragms handy and buy a couple of them, because it's very rarely the motors that go bad in those things. It's almost always the diaphragm that goes bad in a Whisper, because basically there's a little uh, threaded screw and nut, bolt and nut, that connects that diaphragm and holds it in place, and it moves right where that bolt is, where it's connected. So it moves back and forth really fast for a long time, years. And the rubber around that bolt and nut will get bad eventually, because it's just not made to last that long. And so if you start not getting air pressure out of it, you can take it apart, pull the bottom off of it. It's usually just 4 screws. Pull the bottom off. The diaphragm will be a little black round thing that's rubber. Hey, KG Cichlids, welcome to the stream. You just loosen the nut until it comes off. Pull the stuff off of it. Pull that rubber diaphragm out. Get your new rubber diaphragm and push it back into place. It's usually got, the bottom of it will have the open end of the rubber diaphragm will go around a tube on the bottom, and then the bolt goes through the hole in the top of the diaphragm, and you put the stuff back on and the nut. Down the wormhole, some newer versions, you really can't take them apart. If you do, they just never seem to go back together again. But yes, I would always advise, if you notice that the air pressure is just nothing anymore, then I would always advise trying to take it apart and see if you can repair it yourself. It's not rocket science usually. It's not that much engineering, but some of the newer ones are made in such a way. Well, I hope your right hand starts feeling better, Nisi. Some of the newer ones are made in such ways that it's kind of hard to replace the parts. And then if it's an off-brand or something you got from China or something like that, you may never find the parts. That's the one thing I liked about the Whisper, is that you could find the parts for them to repair them. Down the wormhole says mine are all at least 10 years old. Yeah. And that's about the time when the rubber starts giving out, you know. So there's two ways to go when thinking about air pumps. One is the cheapest way possible, whatever's on sale and whatever you can get for $5. And if it lasts you 6 months, you're ahead. KG Cichlids wants to know why I do not have more subs, and states that that's an unacceptable situation. Well, I'm of two minds about that. One mind is that I love being able to watch people come into the stream, recognize who they are or recognize that they are new, and be able to feel like I'm personally greeting them and welcoming them to my house. If I had 20 million subs, it would be impossible for me to individually welcome people when they show up and talk in one of my streams. So, like I said, I'm of two minds about that problem. It's not really a problem for me because I'm never going to try to make money. I'm never going to monetize anything. I'm never going to sell you anything. I may try to get you to buy something if I think it's really going to help your fish keeping. I may tell you people I think you should go buy from if you're looking for something. I'm going to give you those, the benefit of my personal experience. It may not be the best experience for you to go by. I'm perfectly capable of giving bad advice. But because of the fact that I'm never going to try to make money off of this, Lumpy Dogs found us a video on replacing a diaphragm. And I think you'll see that it's basically what I told you. You just need a little crescent wrench or a little wrench that fits the nut and a replacement diaphragm. And with Whisper, you can find those replacement diaphragms. With the new stuff, with the stuff coming in from China for $1, with some of the other brands, good luck finding a replacement diaphragm. You may be able to. That's not to say that you can't buy a Marineland or something like that. KG Cichlids tells me that I'm a joy to listen to, and I thought more people should know about the knowledge you possess. Well, the knowledge I possess varies, and like I say, I'm capable of giving bad advice. I'm also old enough to where I don't really care sometimes when I say something that pisses people off. Hey, Kaler's Aquatics. I've gotten old enough where I feel like I've got the right to just say what I think. So with me, you're going to get the bad with the good sometimes. And a lot of people don't like that. That doesn't... I'm so full of knowledge. Well, Laura, thank you. A lot of people would tell you that I'm full of something. It may not be knowledge. I don't sweat it. I feel the sting of the fact that I'm getting less and less views, and I recognize that fact, but I'm not really sweating it. One of the basic tenets of Buddhism that you need to learn when you're studying it is that you shouldn't ever get too high when people are giving you praise, that you shouldn't ever believe your own press. You shouldn't ever allow your ego to drive what you do. And by the same token, if people are not paying attention to you, if people are saying bad things about you, you shouldn't let that make you get too low either. I mean, you need to maintain as much of an even keel as possible. And anybody can tell you that I'm perfectly capable of getting off my even keel. I get just as ticked off as the next person does sometimes. Sometimes I don't follow my own advice. You know, I think that I need to listen to my own advice sometimes, and I try. I try my best to maintain an even keel, to not get too freaked out about things and not get too hyped up about things. But I'm never going to be interested in using what I do here on YouTube as a money-making proposition. I mean, I'd love for some big company to come in and say, Dwayne, we love what you do. We want you to sell our books, and here's $50,000 for this year. I'd love that because I'd be able to spend money doing things that would be more enjoyable for you guys to watch. But on the other hand, if it wasn't a product that I really believed in or that I really used, or if it wasn't a bookseller that I really appreciated what they were doing, Lumpy Dog says, just start live streaming about the Kardashians, video games, and politics. Boom. Lots of views, but be careful what you wish for. Yeah, well, as I'm sure most of you that are regulars around here have noticed, I will wax political far more than I should. You know, supposedly the things to stay away from are politics and religion. Although here lately I think politics is something that we are all being forced to pay attention to and talk about. But as the preponderance of people in this hobby are rich, people that have a lot of money are usually the ones that are the biggest highlights in this hobby because they can afford this hobby on the far extreme ends. Those people tend to lean towards Republican and conservative views because they got their money by holding on to their money. So my predilection towards leaning towards politics and things like that are probably not healthy for a great many of the people that are in this hobby. As far as them being my regular viewers, I'm probably going to tick them off. But, you know, there's a lot of channels on this TV that's YouTube or FishTube, so they can always go watch other channels. I'm never going to say that anyone should be forced to watch what I think. Everyone has a right to go and come and go as they please, and that it is an honor and a privilege for me to have you choose to spend some of your time with me, and that I'm going to try my best to offer some little kernel of knowledge. I don't always manage it, but I try. I try to have, I mean, there's a lot of information in my head, and sometimes it just takes the right trigger to let some important information out, and I don't always know when or what about that's going to be, but sometimes I can surprise myself with stuff I remember about this hobby, and it just takes the right trigger sometime. I start rambling about one thing and something else pops up in my head. And I know that my delivery is, uh, I guess creative would be generous. It's freewheeling. I try to both pay attention to what's being said in the chat and talk about what I'm thinking about, and those two things are difficult sometimes. I will stop and start and go back to the original topic, and sometimes I get lost in the way, but I think I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy the challenge of both being observant of what people are talking about and trying to keep my stream of consciousness about the topic I was trying to talk about. Sometimes the two streams converge and it creates an interesting dichotomy for me, so that it's possible for me to go someplace I haven't been before, but just because of trying to do those two things at once. All right, guys, before Dee gets a shot at starting her live stream war in chat, and before everyone decides that they're hungry for hot dogs now, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this stream down. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you for keeping me involved and keeping me apprised of what's going on in your fish keeping lives. That's remarkably important to me, that I've gotten to know people on YouTube, and I feel like they're friends. They're fish keeping buddies. They're people that I may never have met, and yet I feel like I've got an attachment to what's going on in their lives and what's going on in their fish rooms. All right, guys. Hope you have a good rest of the weekend. Go Pacers. They're playing the Boston Celtics, and they're probably going to get beat like a drum, but I'm still a diehard fan, and I will be cheering them on through the playoffs. And pay attention to your other YouTubers, guys. Go out there and try to see as many different people as possible. Let's all work at trying to give everybody a good count on their live streams and their videos. I know it's an impossible task. There's just thousands out there and you can't watch them all. Nisi, thanks for being here, and I hope your hand gets better. And Pam, I hope you recover from your surgery even better and even better. And I hope everybody has good luck with their fish. All right, guys, I'm out for another week. Good luck.